ready to go?
Yeah, bird.
The voice 17104.com.
Hello and welcome. I'd like to invite you to just enjoy the experience that we're about to encounter. I'd like to introduce to you a man of a very humble beginning, a man that was able to overcome the horrific misclassification of special education. A caring man, a man that will encourage you because he's been there and done that. And I'd like to encourage you to keep an open mind and be empowered to change your life. I'd like to present to you a man of men, Richard Utley. Richard Utley.
Good evening, and welcome to another Did You Know? Well, I'm going to start out with, at first, I guess this is Black History Month. So I'm not going to talk a lot of history this month because you'll get it all on TV, you'll get it in the paper, and everybody will talk about Black history. But I will have to tell you, Black history is every day and every month. And I've said this before, you should learn your own history. You should not wait for somebody to teach you history, but you need to learn your legacies. And I think if you learn history, I think you will feel a lot better about yourself. And that's why I've always said to all of us, it's very important that we share our history from way back till today. Because we have a lot of famous people. And a lot of times, a lot of us have been told we weren't going to be much of anything. And so we kind of believed it. Or we looked at the environment that's been shaped about us, and it looks that way. As I shared with you many times, that's why I have this program, because I felt that we should be responsible to define who we are, program who we are, and tell our own stories. So before I bring my guest on, I want to take a few minutes to reflect. Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. I had a very, very, very high respect for him. I thought that he was a champion. I thought that he was a trailblazer. And I thought we needed that kind of person to fight for us every day. Regardless of whatever you think, he kept us honest. And I'm sure some things you didn't agree with, some things you did. I don't think nobody agrees with anybody all the time. But I'm sure that if you go back, those of you don't even know who Joe Madison is, the Black Eagle, I would tell you to Google it. I would tell you to listen to some of the things that he had to say. But we still need fighters like him. You know, I must admit to you, one of the reasons that I ended up doing a podcast, because I liked Joe Madison. I liked the Black Eagle. I could also tell you I had the fortune to meet him. He was at an NAACP dinner, and I wanted to meet him, and I went up and introduced myself to him and told him, keep fighting the fight, because we need people out there doing the fight. You know, regardless of what you think, I guess sometimes in life you want to know what your legacy is going to be, or what have you done, or what are you going to do. So I made a decision, even though Joe Madison, he was, like I said, he was dedicated. He fought for freedom, justice, and voting rights. And sometimes I'm troubled because we're still fighting for voting rights, and half of you don't want to vote, even though we need positive change some kind of way. So I hope that you think about those things about Joe Madison, and just remember that somebody like him we need. So I hope some of you become the Joe Madisons, because you can be the Joe Madisons. Believe me, you can. We gotta have fighters out there. We all can't do it ourselves. I'll leave you with this with Joe Madison. Change only occurs when people take part in some form of movement or some form of struggle. So let's get off the couches or chairs or whatever we may be, and let's start to do our own stuff. Let's hold people accountable. Let's call right is right and fair is fair. Because if we don't, it's going to be shame on us. From saying all that, I just want to take a minute of just silence for Joe Madison, because he meant a lot to me and he influenced me. And I just hope I can just carry a little of who he was. So let's just take a minute to pause and think that we lost a great leader, a great person that was willing to step up and fight, cause as he would see it. And some of you, I'm sure, wasn't happy the way he said it or how he articulated it. But let's not get hung up on that. Think about the good. We need to start thinking about the good, positive things about people and get away from the negative things. So I'm going to say we're going to take a minute of silence for Joe Madison. Okay, well, we're going to start the program. I got a very interesting program on today. And before I introduce who this person is, I saw a quote that I just decided that I was going to repeat before I bring my guest on. If you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. And if you don't step forward, you're always in the same place. And I saw that quote today, and I thought about the gentleman that I have on today. And today I'm fortunate that I have a young man on. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. His name is Preston A. Dent. Preston was born in Kansas City, but he was raised in Harrisburg. He's a rapper, songwriter, screenwriter, author, director, producer. He got a little shampoo and conditioner line, and he owns his own record company, and he has 7 books out, and he has some movies and TV. I'm bringing him on here today because I believe that we have to showcase our young people. We have to show people that we can do it, because they have to see what we look like. Because a lot of times TV or movies don't depict us positive all the time. So I've made my decision to show people who can do some things. So when I bring these people on, the real issue is for me is that if they can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So we got to start encouraging people. And Preston, I want you to tell us who you are. Tell my audience your journey. What made you decide to do what you're doing? Because I've told you earlier today, we're going to get into it. We're going to get in the nitty and gritty. We're going to tell the truth. Because I got some questions for you. I'm going to dissect some things for you. And I want your honest opinion. And let's not get hung up on Harrisburg, because the same things we're going to talk about is in Harrisburg, Lancaster, York, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, DC, Baltimore. The things we're going to talk about is the same in all urban communities. So tell us what made you decide that you were going to do the things that you were doing?
Well, first, Preston, and I come from a background to where I had to work hard to get out of. I come from an environment, that you see in every other community. But the thing is that I once took from the community, and then as I grew older, I decided to get back to the community. So I knew I had to make a change for the better. I knew with me losing my dad, I knew that he wanted better for me. I knew there were certain things in my life that made me have to change. So with that being said, that's what led me into the music. That's what led me into the writing. That's what led me into entrepreneurship. That's what led me to different roles that I had to travel to become, an advocate for the people that's trying to make it out, the people that's trying to survive, the people that's trying to change their life around. Because someone showed me something different. So at that point, I wanted to show somebody else something different.
So you would say that you said that your father passed away, and so therefore you used him as a beacon to say, this is what he wanted me to do?
Yeah, well, my father was he was a character himself. And when he passed away, I was still younger. I was about 17, 18, so I was still active in the community or whatever. And when he passed away, once I see that he was participating in musical events. Once I see that he was participating in musical events, that's when I said, well, man, my dad was trying to be an artist, so I wanted to be like him at some point. So that's when I followed the musical career. So he was my first inspiration into music.
So, okay, so you saw your father as being in the music, so you decided that was going to be, you was going to hit your train there.
Right.
Because you thought that would make life better? You thought you'd make a lot of money? I mean, and the reason I'm asking that question is because I've been involved in the music business, and it's a risky business.
Yeah.
It's not always what it's cranked up to be, but you felt that music was going to be your way. Now, when I ask you that, I'm going to go back to something. Being in an environment that you grew up in, what was that environment like?
Well, I grew up on Crescent Street. I grew up on Crescent Street, Berry Hill and Crescent Street, Humble Street, Kinnatini Street. So, my environment was nothing but, drug addicts, drug dealers, people that were in the streets. That's all I seen growing up. And, that's pretty much what the environment was in Crescent Street, Berry Hill, on the hillside of Harrisburg. That's all we had a boys club that we can go to, and where, people in the community at the boys club was teaching us how to play sports, teaching us how to shoot pool, teaching us stuff like that. But the streets was right around the corner, so it was easy just to go right to it.
Do you have any opinion on how a person can balance wanting to do the right thing and being around a lot of folks who's not doing the right thing? And the reason I just want to get your perspective from a young perspective, because a lot of times we seem to sell our young folks on no hope, but there is hope. So if you made it, they can make it. So how do you see that they can kind of balance it out a little bit? Now, would you say because you're positive and you're doing stuff, so then you create yourself as a role model?
Well, yes, I create myself as a role model. Like, I look at it like we all have decisions and we all have choices. Like, some people's decisions and choices are based off of their lifestyle, based off of their, the situation that they're in. Like, it's people that had it harder than me coming up. It's people that were in worse situations than I was. So like sometimes a lot of people, the youth, like they move off of, they feel as though they have to do something, they're trying to survive. Like, you got some kids out there, like I'm gonna tell you the story.
Sure.
Like, I was a wrestling coach.
Okay.
And I was, teaching the kids how to wrestle or whatever. And one of the kids, he was like a good wrestler. So after I had stopped, being a wrestling coach, I seen the kid about 5 years later. And I seen him, standing on the corner or whatever. So I pull up on him, I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? How you doing? What you been up to, man? You still wrestling? And he's like, nah, coach, I don't wrestle no more. I'm like, man, why not, man? You was dope. You was good. And he's like, man, my mom don't care about me. He's like, my mom don't care about me. So, this is the only thing I could do. He's like, my dad in jail, my mom don't love me. And, I'm just lost out here. So I was like, man, and it touched me. It really touched me. So I'm like, man, this kid was talented. And it really touched me. So what I did, I said, man, look, here go my number, man. You ever need to talk to somebody, you ever need somebody to call, you ever need something, if I can give it, I will. But before you make a drastic choice or a drastic decision, give me a call if you really need something first to see if I can help you. And, and that touched me. And after that, I was like, man, I got to be able to do something that I can help these kids. I got to be able to, rather if I could give them inspiration, rather if I give them motivation, rather if I can give them financial help, or I have to be able to do something to help these kids.
Do you think that we as a community, we need to step up to the plate a little bit more, and we need to be more sensitive? And the reason I said that is because sometimes we don't know what the environment was. I was somewhere yesterday, actually, at a program, and something that someone said made sense to me, but I didn't think about it. But they were talking about kids in the juvenile system. And what it was, that this young man, he was angry. And he was angry because he said he didn't really know his father, because his father had been locked up.
Yeah.
So he was angry over that. And then maybe some things that his mom did was not good either.
Yeah.
So they come out of an environment like that. But maybe, would you say that we should say, or start to say, we need to be more humane, lovable? Because I'm trying to toy with this, and that's why I have you on here, so that you can kind of like help me to help our audience to understand what we need to do, because I get tired of hearing that a lost generation. Now, we're going to talk about your books, but I plugged something out of one of your books. And I want you to explain this. You say, judged by 12 or carried by 6. I read it and it hit me. So could you elaborate on what you mean by judged by 12 or carried by 6?
I mean, carried by 12, judged by 6 is pretty much saying like, hey, I'd rather, before I let an individual take me away from my family, kill me and take me away from my mom, take me away from my kids, I'd rather defend myself and rather pick the 12 drawers and get my justice get my justice that way before I be in the dirt. So that's what that means when people say that.
Okay, let's continue to talk about this. Now, I've gone down to the court and I've seen young people make decisions, wrong decisions. How do we give hope? How do we say to them, you can have 6 carry you and put you in the ground, or you can have a jury by 12 judge you, and you may get locked up and you don't really see life. I think sometimes, and tell me if I'm wrong, but please explain this to me. Sometimes I think young people, and I could be wrong, they not necessarily understand the value of life.
Yeah.
How do we, or what should we do to help, young people value life? And before you answer that, I'm going to throw some things out. We all know wherever we live, we all got territories. In Harrisburg, you have Uptown, Allison Hill, Cameron Street projects, you side projects. And you have certain areas have multi-races, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans and blacks. But that's here. But if I grew up in Pittsburgh, so if I say the Hills over here, Homewood's over here, North Side's over there, they're all the same. That's my point. We get confused sometimes. They're all the same. Now, the only thing I will say, and some of you may agree and I agree, a lot of times people want to emulate what they see on TV, whether they want to believe they want to be a Blood or Crip, or nowadays, most neighborhoods have their own local gangs.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, they want to be tough.
Yeah.
But they're young people that want to be tough. And I've read somewhere that a lot of young people want to be tough, but half of them are not tough. You think you're tough, but it's all, for all practical purposes, you're basically a punk. But that's what you think you are, until you get scared. So what do you think we should do to help reach our young people? Please tell me.
Well, see, the thing is, when most people, like when I talk to the younger kids, first we have to understand them first. We can't, rain down on them and say, hey, your generation's just terrible, da-da-da. Because they got different circumstances. They got different, from when I was younger, it's different for them now. It's a lot more treacherous now. It's a lot more dangerous for them now. Back when I was younger, you can get in a fist fight. You might get swooped by a couple guys. But now it's a person just going, they're just going to take your life away now. So that they have to be more harder. So they have to live a certain way to survive. So in order to get some understanding from these kids, what's the main thing that everyone is afraid of? And that's poverty. So when these little kids is starving because their dad ain't around, their mom is, doing whatever she's doing, she's not giving them the right, structure. And, the dad's in jail, system took him away, dad dead, dad in jail, or dad, just not being a father. So that leaves the kid to have the streets raise him. So if he's out there in the streets and it's dangerous out there and everybody is running around with guns and everybody is running around shooting, what is he going to do? He's going to get a gun to protect himself.
You said something, I want you to repeat it. And the reason I want you to repeat it, because I'm probably guilty as well. You said something about what our experience is not what today's experience is.
It's totally different.
So you're saying that we need to understand that. Because I've had people in this program and I've said some things and they said, well, you need to listen to the other side.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're saying is a very important thing. So one of the things I got out of this so far is that we need to listen, not form an opinion, not what we were or what we used to do. Because something you said, things are different now.
They're a lot different.
And we may look at them. Even I realize, and I'll say this because I hear it all the time, I don't know where young people can go and enjoy themselves like we used to.
Yeah.
We had roller coasters, we did all those things. So, first thing you said is we need to listen. Also, we need to understand the time and environment that we live in. Okay.
Yeah, see, come on, right? If you think about it, right? Back when we were a little younger, like people could, it was a legal way of making money, but people could stand on the corners and try to feed themselves. But now you can't stand on the corners no more because there's so much violence. It's so much violence. You stand on the corners, somebody that you got a problem was going to come, try to do something to you. And then with social media, it's like everything is out there for everybody to see. So once social media hit, the way people were living in Chicago, people were able to see that's how they're living. Okay, we can live like this too. People saying, well, wow, okay, well, they just did this thing right here, so we could do this too. But back when I was younger, we didn't have social media like that. So we couldn't see what was going on. We could see it on the news, but the news is just put whatever they want to put up. But social media, you see everything. Like you see everything. Like you see everything that's going on in America. From California to New Orleans to Houston to Atlanta to New York. You see everything that's going on in all these big cities. So the smaller cities now are adapting to trying to live like the bigger cities.
Okay.
So, because that's what they're seeing now. So it's just totally different for their generation.
So you're saying social media, which I agree, has changed the playing field in terms of what people learn and what they can do.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. You say that when I was growing up, I'll use me, when we used to be delivery boys that deliver papers or shoe shine or whatever they did.
Yeah.
It was okay, and you could walk home, and that you could stop to get something, and you really didn't have to worry about being mugged.
I mean, yeah, to a certain extent. Not like how it is today.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like it is today.
Yeah, today is
this
crazy.
Let's be honest. I mean, I want us that.
I
know it's crazy out there, and that's why. I mean, I wanted you to be on because I wanted you just to tell us the way it is. There's 3 segments of this conversation. I'm going to stay on the hardcore side, and then I'm going to move on to the athletic side. But we're on the hardcore side. I read a lot of things, and I'm going to bring up prisons. I know that I kind of like, you look at reading the paper about Dauphin County prison, but then you read the Pittsburgh paper and you read about Allegheny County prison, or Lancaster prison, or Philadelphia prison. And I think that everybody in prison should not be in prison. And we'll talk another time about bail. Cash bail. We'll talk about that another time. But I read in your book how you articulated, even though the book has changed the names to protect the innocent, or however you created in your mind a story. But some of the same things are still there. We have overcrowdings in prisons because they can't make bail. And one of the things that people don't understand, and I was doing some little research, is that why is there crime in the hood? And why do you think there's crime in the hood? You've already answered it, but answer it again for me, then I'll tell you, or I'll say them, and then you play off of me on this. High levels of poverty. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
And when I say high levels of poverty, is it because they don't have opportunity to get a job? They don't have an opportunity for somebody to tell them that they are doing good. What do you think it is?
I mean, I'm just not going to just say, hey, like just give everybody an excuse, because you can go get a job. Like it is resources that you can go get a job that you might not be making $1 million at the job, but you can go get a job. I mean, it's resources where you can go to school. But for the younger generation, they might be too young to really get a job like that. We talking about kids that's 16, 15. We talking about kids that's 12 years old that's walking around with guns bigger than their body. So them kids can't get no jobs. Like, they can't go work. They're too young.
So let me ask you this question. I'm gonna go back. So that kid that has that gun, this 12 years old, is bigger than him. What made him or she to decide that that was going to be the path? Because the reason I'm asking you that is because they don't have a job. But is it because we don't help them develop, to tell them that they're loved? I mean, I'm asking you from your perspective.
I mean, that too, but we got kids having kids.
Yes.
We got, we got kids having kids, and the kids that's having kids and making their kids be their best friends. Like kids ain't getting their butt whooped no more. They changed the law to where you can really discipline your kid. Nowadays you discipline your kid. The kids say, well, I'm gonna call child services. I'm gonna call the cops on their parents. Back when I was younger, if I were to tell my mom or dad that, my mama threw me out the window.
Yeah.
Head first. So, it's just, everything's just different. Like the kids, like they say that the kids is this way and that way, but yet they don't let us discipline them. Like if you got boys, you got boys that are tough and strong boys, like, and you tell a parent that you can't whoop his butt and he do something crazy. Like you can't seriously say, son, you can't do this no more. Yeah, I mean, that's not gonna really be enough to really, like, we were all boys before. Imagine our mom and dad just saying, hey, son, you can't go to the store at 11 o'clock, and that's it. But when dad grip you up by the back of your neck, he grip you by the back of your neck, like, look, you go out here at after 10 o'clock again.
I understand.
I'm putting my foot up your butt.
I understand.
It's a whole different thing. We don't got fathers out there that's really, really being fathers to their sons. They've been their friends. Or if not, they're allowing them to be the same person they is. Like, they think it's cool for their son to be a gangster. They think it's cool for their son to be tough. They think it's cool for their son to walk around with his pants sagging.
How do we try to correct that? I mean, try. I mean, yeah.
I think the first thing is, like, take some of the poverty away. Like, if they take away some of the poverty, because that's all these kids want for real. They just want some money. They just want to be able to live. They just don't want to be starving. The main source of the problem is financial. Like, when you see everybody angered, think about it. You don't never see nobody that's financially well really that mad. You don't never really see somebody that's driving a nice car, that's, that has things that he wants, that's running around doing crazy stuff. Normally, it's the people that really don't have, that's normally angered. They're on edge. They're ready to snap. They're ready to jump off the cliff because, the situation that they're in. Their back might be against the wall. Mom might be ready to get kicked out of the house. Ain't no groceries in the house. He probably want this girl. His sneakers is messed up. He don't got no clothes to get the girl that he want. Because half the kids, if they had things that they wanted, they probably wouldn't want to be, they probably wouldn't want to be so treacherous. Like, I ain't saying they probably won't steal,
There's always going to be something to the rule. I do understand that. So you're saying that poverty is one of the big things. Of course, there's no question that economics ties into poverty, and so we need to create jobs. I agree with that. I think that we need to invest more in our community, which we need to do. We need to support entrepreneurship, because it's always amazed me that, and we don't think about it, but that when you look at your neighborhood and people are scared to come out, or you have a mom and pop store or whatever, and it's way down the road, and then your grandmother or even you are paying higher prices for something that you could get cheaper, but you can't because nobody wants to invest into your neighborhood. So one of the things, tell me if I'm wrong, I think that one of the things we maybe need to look at is reinvesting in our neighborhoods.
Right.
And when I say reinvesting in our neighborhoods, I'm not just talking about housing. We know that's a problem, but we need to reinvest in our neighborhoods in terms of a lot of positive things. And at the same time of saying that, I will say that some of it, we've allowed it to happen because we made excuses. We've seen things happen and we've turned our backs. We want good policemen, we want good neighbors, and we want good citizens. But there have been some, whatever, neighbors, some citizens have not been good to the community. Unfortunately, we have allowed it to define us. So we got to do a better job.
Yeah.
And I'm going to move on, but I'm going to say this. Maybe, and I've been saying this all along, let's smile at the young person every now and then. Just smile at them. Because when I heard that story yesterday, when the person said, the kid's already in the judicial system, he's angry because he says nobody loves him. Or he's angry because he didn't have a father. So I would say, hopefully, some of you out there will get involved in the Boys and Girls Clubs, get involved in the Y. Churches open up to some of these kids and let these kids know that they are somebody. Because I'm sure that many of them have been told negative things about them.
Yeah.
And after a while, you get to believing it. And, you know, like you said, there's a lot of other stuff in the community. We know for a fact that jealousy. So I'm going to throw some things out here for you and have you answer real quickly. I'm going to give you I'm going to say the word, but just give me your honest opinion when I say it. Foster care system. How do you perceive our foster care system? Based on because I know you know people that was in the foster care system, and based on your book, you had to do some research on foster care system.
I mean, I feel like the foster care system, I mean, I guess there's different levels to foster care. Like, for instance, like my mom has, she has kids that she, helps out with the foster care system. So you got homes like that, and you got the foster, where people stay there forever. But I feel like the foster care system, I feel like they do I think they do as best as they could do.
Okay.
I mean, I seen kids, I know people that went to foster care that grew up in the foster care system that came out good.
Good.
And I seen people that went to the foster care system that came out bad. So it's like, I guess
Based on the system, 50-50?
Yeah. So it's like a seesaw. It can go good, it can go bad.
Okay. Life of crime.
What do I think about life of crime?
Yeah.
I mean.
Just your opinion to
opinion.
the audience, what you.
Well, like life of crime. Life of crime. Like again, there's levels to crime.
Right.
Even though it's all wrong, but of course, a person shooting your head, taking your purse is different than you selling a bag of weed. Of course, that's different. I mean, it's all crime, and nobody wants to see criminals. Nobody wants to deal with crime. Nobody wants to be living in a neighborhood filled with criminals. Nobody wants that.
Thank you. Now, I want you to repeat that again because we get so defined with that. I mean, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and in Homewood, and people think if I say Homewood, they go, oh my God, they think it's crime infested,
Yeah.
and everybody that lives there wants to live there and would accept it. And sometimes you can't accept it because you ain't got nowhere else to
You
go.
ain't got a choice.
You said some things here. You talked about no family guidance, and I'm going to end them. We're going to talk about some other things. Drugs has run rampant in our community, and I realize sometimes it's a quick fixer. But one of the things when I read your book was about the drugs, but you also talked about the drugs connected to the violence. And I guess what you're really saying is that if they had another alternative, maybe they would not do what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe it won't be as many people.
Okay.
It won't be as, as much. I think like the drugs are different now. Now they got fentanyl, they got pills everywhere. The drugs are different. So now, back in our generation, we were, people were selling the drugs. It's like now they're using them.
Gotcha.
So, they got all these designer drugs, all these different types of, like look how many people dying from fentanyl. People don't even know they're taking fentanyl. They think they might be taking that drug, but people don't put fentanyl in it. And there you go. Now you got a person that's lost their life.
So, okay, so before I talk about your athletics and how athletics has moved you from point A to point B, or many of us from point A to point B, if you had to give my audience a message, what would that message be?
Concerning sports? Concerning athletics?
No, prior to going to athletics, what are some things you think, what do you think some of the things that we in the community can do to help people to understand judged by 12 or carried by 6?
I mean, it's a judgmental world. And I say, just tell people, don't be so quick to judge a person by the way they live. Like, understand the way they live first. Because everyone has a reason for why they live that way. Nobody just wakes up in the morning and just say, hey, I'm going to live this way. Nobody does it. Like, you might have a kid that grew up in the house, maybe his mom and dad was on drugs. So maybe he started using drugs. Kids want to be like their parents. Like a son's first hero is his father if he has one. So things that his father does, normally the kid wants to do. So like if you got a kid, if you got a son, you see his dad out here carrying guns and his dad is, coming home snorting powder, 9 times out of 10, the kid looks up to that and the kid may want to do that. So like, don't be so quick to judge people for who they are, but try to understand them first. Try to look into their story. Because you never know, a person could be feeling dead inside. And, we might say the wrong word to them and then they just snap because we didn't know what they were dealing with. We didn't know what they were up against. We just said, hey, this person doing something stupid. So we just call him a name. We just put him down, tell him he's not going to be nothing, tell him he's never going to be great, tell him he's never going to amount to anything. As the same thing the teachers told me. You know what I'm saying? Same thing that was told to me as a kid. And to this day, I finally let it go. But in my 30s, I held that against people forever. For all the people that told me I wouldn't be nothing, all the people said I wasn't going to do this, I wasn't going to do that. They said it wasn't possible. They said I couldn't do it. They said, no way. Like, I held that inside my whole 30s.
I'm going to end on that, but I got a question on that. You held it to your 30s, but did it drive you to be to where you are now?
That's why I'm where I'm at.
That's the point. You took the negative, and you were told you weren't going to be this and you weren't going to be that, and you made a decision that you weren't going to allow it to define you.
And that's why I'm at where I'm at.
Okay, and I'll take my hat off to you on that. But audience, tell you a little secret. He ain't the first one that's been told that. And he may not be the last one that will be told that. It's not right. But I will say this. I'm looking right at you. I could tell the same story that he just told. And so many of you that are sitting there was told that story, but you believed. You believed in yourself. And that's what's important. Believe in yourself, because everybody can be somebody. Don't let nobody define you. We all have a good kindle spirit inside ourselves. We all do. And I'm going to leave on this, and then we're going to go to sports. Everybody can bring something to the table. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to talk about sports, because that's a vehicle that you believe, and I believe, that has helped a lot of people get out of the hood. But that's easy to be said, but don't you have to do something to help you get to that next level?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, of course. I mean, you know, I mean, some people are just born with a natural talent. I mean, some people are born with a natural motivation. You know, some people are born with people in their corner that can guide them in the right direction. But I mean, it could be done. It could be done. It's living proof that it could be done. People have came from the worst conditions and made it in athletics.
Is that what helped you?
Sports changed my life.
Okay,
Like wrestling was the first thing that changed my life. But I was into the healing uptown stuff, so I was fighting a lot, and I was in school, and I was getting spooked by a bunch of kids, or whatever, and I was fighting. I wasn't running, I was fighting back. So the wrestling coach, Jesse Rawls, like I tell Jesse Rawls to this day that, man, you saved my life, man. So Jesse Rawls, he seen me fighting or whatever, and he's like, man, you wasn't scared of no kids, you didn't run or nothing. He said, man, why don't you come out in the wrestling room? He said, all that stuff you was doing out there, you could do this in a wrestling room and not get in trouble. So I'm like, what? So I can go body slam somebody, I could take my anger out on somebody and not get in trouble for it? Are you serious? He's like, yeah, man, come on now. He said, I guarantee you're going to love it. So I went to wrestling practice. I went to the wrestling practice, looking there, and I started seeing all these guys that I knew or whatever. I'm like, man, I didn't know you wrestled. I didn't know you wrestled. They in there wrestling. And that right there, man, that changed my life. It gave me something to love. It gave me something, it gave me a dream. Like, it gave me something to look forward to as far as getting out of school, going on the corner, getting out of school, going hang with my friends, riding around the city, getting in trouble. I got out of school, I had to go to wrestling practice. In order to wrestle, I had to have good grades. In order to wrestle, I couldn't get in trouble. I ain't tougher than my wrestling coach. He taught me how to wrestle, how I'm gonna beat him up.
Good point.
Anybody know Jesse Rawls, they know he got the tightest hand grip in America. So, and that was the first thing that saved my life. Like, that right there gave me something to love. So that's why I tell anybody, look, let your kids get into wrestling. My sons don't have a choice. They don't have a choice but to wrestle.
Because of discipline?
Well, what wrestling does, it teaches you how to lose. You know how you ever see a kid that, in life, right, when most people, when they're losing that life, they go do something drastic when they're losing. See, in wrestling, when you're losing, you could body slam a kid and come right back and win. So it's a life lesson in it. Like, you could be losing the whole fight, and then with one move, you can come back and win. And that's the same way with life. You could be down bad in life, and with one good decision, you can come back and be on top. So I use the wrestling as a good teaching point for my sons. And wrestling, it like you don't gotta go out there and see if you can fight. You don't gotta go out there and see if you could body slam somebody, because wrestle, you already know you can. You know what I'm saying? Wrestling gives you this certain discipline. It gives you this certain confidence. Like, you will know a wrestler when he walks in the room.
Okay, but I do believe that sports does create certain things. I do believe it discipline.
Yeah.
I do believe it helps you to know that you need to be on time to catch the bus to go wherever you're going. That keep your grades up.
Yeah.
And I do believe that. And maybe we need to encourage that more. But I think part of the problem is that sometimes you use wrestling because everybody wants to be great. Everybody wants to be the Michael Jordans or whoever.
Yeah.
But I think that you can take athletics and tie it to the reality of life.
Yeah.
Because if you want to be a rapper, you gotta know how to write. If you want to do all the things that you've been doing, you had to have some discipline in terms of doing what you needed to do. So how did you have, so was the wrestling what gave you the discipline, or you developed that through knowing where you wanted to go and how you were trying to get there?
Well, wrestling gave me the discipline. Like wrestling gave me the structure. Like wrestling, wrestling gave me, of course, the physical fit, the body. Like wrestling gave me the heart, the strength. It gave me the, wrestling. Wrestling pretty much made me look. If you want to continue to wrestle, you can't get in trouble. So at that point, I couldn't get in trouble no more. I had to behave. Wrestling gave me a reason to do better. You know what I'm saying? And also wrestling, I play football, so wrestling helped my football. Wrestling, athletics just does, it gives a person something to live for. If a person doesn't have anything to look forward to, like the most dangerous person is a person that don't have a dream. It's a person that don't have nothing to look forward to. That's a dangerous person.
I never heard it put that way, but I'm glad that what you said. So you're saying a dream is important,
A dream is
a vision.
important.
And that's why it's important for us to encourage.
You gotta have a dream. See, because think about it, right? When we younger, we got our friends, we got a little neighborhood that we feel like we're a part of. But then as we get older, we don't got our neighborhood no more. We don't got our friends no more to go hang out and all that. So as we get older, we say, well, what am I a part of now? Like, I was at a point where I was like, man, why do I feel kind of empty? Because I wasn't a part. It was like I'm finally at a point I'm really not. I mean, of course, I got my entrepreneurship. I got all the stuff that I'm doing, and but I'm not. It's like a man has to feel a part of a society.
Okay.
Like you see people in bike clubs. You see people in fraternities. Like they're a part of something. Like that goes a long way. It goes a long way. People might not look at it that way, but it really goes a long way when a person feel like they're a part of something. If you take a person that feel like they're a part of something, and you take a person that doesn't feel like they're a part of something, them is two different energies.
That's why when I hear people say why young people belong to gangs or organizations like that, because that's their family.
Yeah, they feel like they're a part of that.
They're a part of it. And so they go that route because they want to belong.
Yeah.
And so neighborhood, community, we need to do a better job to letting our people, young people, know they are somebody, but they belong to somebody.
Yeah.
Because we all belong. And so I say it all the time, I bring it up all the time. The Wise Boys Clubs, after school clubs, churches, we got to do a better job. We really do, because something that you said, with no hope, no vision, no dream, you think you're dead.
It's like something inside you just feel like the inside you just feel kind of empty.
Well, I'm glad that I have you on here to explain those things, because I want you on to tell your side of how you perceive it. Because like you said, the way I grew up, that's not the way they're growing up now. And so what I might have said I would do or would not do or could not do and should not do, there may be reasons why other people do. Okay. Well, time is running, but we got a few more minutes here, so we're going to talk about these books. You got 7 books.
7 of them.
7 books. What made you want to write 7 books? What made you want to write books?
Well, I was rapping, and so I was supposed to perform at the high school. They wanted me to perform something positive, and I was just making street music. So at the time, I was just making street music. So I didn't really have no message type of music, no positive type music. So that forced me. I said, well, I want to perform in front of these people. So I had to go write a song about a message. And so when I came up with this, song about a message, I said, man, this is a powerful message. I said, this could be a dope book. And I turned that song into a book. My first book was a song. I turned the song into a book.
Tell the audience the name of the song.
Well, it's called David. David, Love Life, Live Long, and Be Free. That was my first baby.
Okay.
And that was the first book I wrote.
Any other?
And then I wrote David. Then I wrote Kadia, Rise of a Set. Well, David's about a young kid living with HIV.
Okay.
Then I wrote Kadia, that's about human trafficking, about a girl in human trafficking. Then I wrote David 2, which is another book that David won. Then I wrote Claudette, which is about a female that's, she liked females and she got disowned by her mom. Mm-hmm. So she's, taking it out on the community with that one. Then I wrote Cargon, the Evil Fairy. And that's about, fairies, like my first fantasy. But that's actually the first black fairy, first story about a black fairy that was ever written. And then I wrote Harrisburg, which is about, the community of Harrisburg.
And they can get these books on Amazon.
On Amazon, yeah.
So if you're interested in his books, Preston Dent, you just go in and they can get them on Amazon.
Get them on Amazon. You can hit me on social media.
You can hit him on social media. You can even Google him if that's what you feel you want to do. Oh, there's your books right there.
There you go.
There you go.
Like you see Alcoholic Bruce, that's the movie that's on Tubi.
Alcohol movie, what was the movie about?
It's a comedy. It's about a drunk guy.
Okay, but you're doing movies, you're creative.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you are. There, we're gonna keep you up there bring him back up there a minute, so we can.
That's my shampoo and conditioner right there.
Wait a minute, we're gonna bring you back up here. Okay, so these are your books. Okay, folks, you already heard you can get them on Amazon.
Get them on Amazon. You can hit me on Facebook.
Or
you could just Google author Preston Dent, and then all my books will pop up.
Oh yeah, you can Google you because I Googled you. Yeah, you can Google you Preston Dent. You come up.
Yeah.
You come up and your books come up. And we need to support him in those books. I even read The Real Harrisburg.
We're about to shoot the movie to the Harrisburg book.
You're gonna shoot a movie?
Yep, about to shoot a movie to that.
That's okay. You're shooting movies. What made you decide? Okay, you wrote the books, and now you want to do movies. What made you want to do movies too?
Well, I mean, movie is just that's like the ultimate. It's like the ultimate.
That's the ultimate tier.
Yeah, that's like the top tier of.
Okay.
Top tier of entertainment.
Okay.
Like, don't get no higher than than a.
Okay.
Film,
All right, like Denzel Washington and Harrisburg. I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking, but you're doing all this. You already told me what's driving you. So how would a person want to go about some of these things and don't really have a lot of capital?
I mean, that having the capital is definitely you have to have the finances to do some of the things. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, so like I invested pretty much everything I had into it. Like you gotta take sacrifices, you gotta make sacrifices. Like, there was a point in time I was homeless, I was sleeping in my van in Atlanta to try to like make it. I'm talking about taking baths in the A+.
I'm glad I want to talk about that we got like 3 or 4 minutes. Because I want you to talk about that, because a lot of times people think instant gratification. They think that, oh, I'm this, and it was like a little fairy thing. Like you said, you sacrificed. You took the long route getting there. So this didn't happen just yesterday.
No, this was a process. Like I respected the process.
A process, and tell my audience they need to understand it's a process.
It's a process, and nothing that's hard is going to come overnight. Nothing that's great is going to be easily perceived. So like, I mean, like I said, like I was homeless, living in Atlanta, living off the land, sleeping in my van, staying girl house to girl house just for somewhere to sleep, like, doing things that I normally wouldn't want to be doing. And, but I was plugged in, I was connected with people, so I couldn't leave. But eventually it just got to the point I was like, man, I can't take it no more. I had to come back home.
So now you're a trailblazer, and now you're telling people, here I am, this is what I've done, and you can do it too.
You can do it too.
But it didn't come yesterday.
It didn't come yesterday. Just have your strategy.
Strategy. So you would tell, in the last 2 minutes, what would you like to tell my audience?
As far as on the entertainment side,
or whatever you want to tell them.
Well, this is what I would tell anybody that's young, that's trying to get into entertainment, anybody that's aspiring to be an author, director, musician, anything of that sort. Like do your homework on it first. Like, respect the process. Don't give up if you're not getting the instant gratification that you think that you deserve, because it's a million people that's trying to do this. So only thing that's separating you from the million other people is your motivation, your dedication, and your determination. Like, if you ain't willing to give it all, if you ain't willing to sacrifice, if you ain't willing to spend your last $100 at the studio, if you ain't willing to spend your last $100 on the editor, if you ain't willing to get out here and beat the pavement so people can know who you are, then this might not be for you.
Because it's not easy.
It's not easy at all. I mean, you can have the greatest talent in the world. As we know today, talent is not what gets you through the door. It's preparation, it's process, and it's connection, it's who you know. Talent does not get you on the door no more. It might get you, but talent, the most people you see successful, it's people that's more talented than them. Mm-hmm. Like the music you hear on TV, they're good, but they're not great. Like, it's great people out here that probably got 20 fans, because that person is on TV, they put the work in. Like, they took the time to study, they took the time to grind. The person that's real talented, he's sitting back waiting for somebody to come do it for him. And it's not gonna happen. You gotta go out and get it. Never let them tell you no, never let them tell you can't do it. And the person that's telling you that you can't do it, I suggest you get away from them, because a lot of people gonna tell you something that you can't do because they couldn't do it. They're going to tell you that you can't do it because they couldn't do it. They feel as though it's impossible. Every dream started out small.
Okay, we're going to leave with that. Every dream started out small. I want to thank you for coming on. Audience, I hope that you got something from it. I got something from it. Got a different perspective on some things. And I hope that you got a different perspective on some things too. So, keep hope alive. Keep your dreams alive. And those of you, if we need to be cheerleaders and cheer young people on, or your family on, help them be successful. Help them be positive. Let us be encouraging role models opposed to just downright being negative. Thank you, and I'm looking to see you soon. So,
Thank you for joining the Richard Utley Show on The Voice 17104. We will be here on The Voice 17104 every first and third Tuesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Once again, thanks for viewing. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Richard Utley, and we welcome your questions and your comments.